Hey everyone, this is Scott from the Forgot to Pro podcast. Welcome to another edition of ReWatching Agents of S.H.i.E.L.D. Today we're going to be talking about Season 2, Episode 8, The Things We Bury. I'm just going to be starting off with the plot summary and then just talking about my general thoughts and some foreshadowing I noticed in this episode. So let's just start with that plot summary, which says Bakshi accidentally reveals to Morse that Whitehall is actually Randhall, a Nazi scientist who was working on the obelisk before being captured by the SSR and imprisoned for life by Peggy Carter in 1945. But in 1989, Randhall was released from prison by Alexander Pierce to find that a woman he had found in 1945 was still the same age. After dissecting her, Randhall discovers the secret to her immortality and used it to make himself 45 years younger. The doctor finds the remains of the woman who was his wife and vows vengeance against Whitehall, who he is now pretending to be allied with. Grant Ward also appears to join in an alliance with Whitehall after having tortured Christian, his brother, into confessing past sins and then apparently murdering him and their parents. S.H.I.E.L.D. hacks a U.S. Air Force mapping satellite and uses it to find the hidden city, and Coulson meets the doctor, who knows that the obelisk or the diviner is a key that must be taken to the city by somebody it deems worthy. So I really enjoyed this episode because we got some cool little answers to the backstory of Whitehall and how he became young again. We got our first little glimpse at Skye's mom, even though they don't out and out tell you that it's Skye's mom who he was working on. You don't learn until the very end of this episode, actually, and you really have to put those pieces together yourself. Like, they don't out and out say it, they just kind of, they show Skye's dad going and mourning this after going and mourning, Skye's mom after Whitehall had tortured and taken out a bunch of her different, blood and stuff to make himself young again. And it's just, I really enjoyed the way they did that. I enjoyed that they didn't just out and out tell you. You're just kind of curious who this girl was, right? Who, like, this lady who has this immortality. You're just like, that's interesting. There's this lady, and then you find out right at the end of this episode. I really enjoyed that about this. For those of us who have seen the episode before, we already knew it was her mom, but I really liked that the idea of how they kind of keep it's still kind of a secret in a sense. Like, even rewatching, you're like, oh yeah, that is Skye's mom, but they're not saying it till the very end. So I really enjoyed that aspect of this episode. But what else did I really like about this episode? I wrote some other stuff down. What do I have? Oh, Mac was questioning about Coulson's kind of leadership and stuff like that, which after my last video, I had a comment that had mentioned about Mac being connected to the real S.H.I.E.L.D., which I'd completely forgotten about. I forgot that he's kind of working undercover and he's in connection with them. So that little line of hit where he was kind of talking to Hunter about Coulson and asking him about that, it made me a little like, you're trying to gather a little more intel. Okay, that's an interesting little thing. So I thought that was a cool little thing. Skye's mom can touch the obelisk. That's kind of obvious. Oh, we see Peggy Carter in this episode, which was a cool little touch. She's only in like 2 little mini scenes where she's just in a cell with freaking Whitehall, but it's still cool that they brought her in. I love that they bring her in just randomly throughout the show just to show those flashback scenes of the SSR. It makes sense too. I think the season lined up with either the first season of Agent Carter or the second season of Agent Carter, so it makes sense why she did have a few cameos from her in this season. But I really like them anytime they pop up. What else do I have? Ward takes his brother to the well, and his brother finally admits to the truth. That was a really interesting scene because how his brother really was sticking to Ward being the crazy one, and Ward was just like, no, I just need one truth. I need to know that this one thing that I remember was true. And his brother finally admits it, and then he kills his brother and his parents, which a little cold, but that's Ward for you. That's Ward. And then he joins Hydra, which, yeah, I forget what his motivation behind that is. I think it has something to do with getting back to Skye again. I'm not really sure. I'll discover that in the next couple episodes that I rewatch. But what else do I have written down? The team figures out that Whitehall and Randhall are the same. Whitehall used Skye's mom to make himself younger. Skye's dad helps Trip before kind of screwing him over a little bit. And he shouts, "That's not her name," at one point, which I really like that they keep hinting at that through this season so far. Him being like, no, Skye's not her name. Stop saying that. It's a really cool mystery through, when you first watch, it's a cool mystery that you're like, what's her real name then? And for those of us who have already seen this, we know it's Daisy. Like, she's Daisy, which is really interesting that both of her names are very, very like hippie type names, but it is what it is. It's a different time. But what else I've written down? Just Ward rejoins Hydra, and they found the city via the satellite. I felt that seemed a little too easy. Like, I know they had to go break into a satellite thing, but it still seems like, and like they had to put the map together too, but it still seems kind of easy that they just had to scan the Earth and they found it. You know what I mean? It seems like it should have been a little bit more complicated than just, oh, we got the map, and maybe I'm just, maybe just the fact that I'm rewatching them and I'm kind of compacting them a little faster than I would have first rewatched them, right? Because I'm watching 2 a week now. Originally, it would have come out once a week, so it's so a little more compact together. Maybe that's the only reason I think it seems so fast. I don't know, the time just seemed a little quick for me. But yeah, that's all my thoughts and stuff I noticed in this episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Be sure to let me know in the comments below anything that you guys might have noticed or thought that you liked or didn't like. I'm always curious to hear about that stuff. But thanks again for joining me today, and have a good one.